Good day, class. This is something I'm trying for the first time. I know some of your other teachers may have done this, but I'm going to try and work you through a PowerPoint on advertising. Before I do that, I just wanted to check in with you and ask you how you all are doing. I know you can't respond. I had to tell you something that happened to me the other day. I was walking down the street and I got attacked by a gang of mime artists. Yeah, that's right. A gang of mime artists was quite scary. They did unspeakable things to me. You get it? Mime artists, unspeakable things. Okay, let's talk about advertising. This is covered in chapter 8 in the textbook. So we're going to watch this slideshow. So let's go. Okay, so first of all, it's probably pretty important to understand exactly what we mean when we talk about advertising. Here's your definition of advertising. It's the paid for promotion of a business's goods or services using mass media to reach a target market. So we've talked a little bit about a target market. We're going to talk a lot in this PowerPoint about mass media and what that's all about. Advertising is sometimes lumped in together with promotion and publicity. Advertising is a form of promotion, but it's not the same as publicity. Publicity can be defined as notice or attention given to someone or something by the media. Publicity can sometimes be positive. It can also be negative. So in the case of a business that may have experienced some negative news, for instance, locally, the Sobeys store in Fonthill, the owner was accused of having COVID-19 and still going into work. You can imagine that that was negative publicity for that company. They've lost sales because of that. Some businesses will openly court positive publicity. They send out what's known as press releases. Okay. And publicity usually is not directly paid for by a business. And that's where it really sets itself out as different from advertising. So before we talk about advertising, it's important to understand, why do we buy? The goal of advertising is to communicate the value of a product to the consumer. And that value can be real or it can be emotional. Advertising includes all the images that you project, messages on websites and ads, how employees interact with customers, and how customers compare you with the competition. So when you are a business, when you're running a business and you're preparing some advertising, it's usually very important for you to understand, what is your purpose of that particular ad. So that can be broken down into, I think, 5 different areas. First of all, brand awareness. Brand awareness, all you're trying to do is you're trying to introduce your target market to a product or service. You're trying to inform them. You can imagine that this is a tactic that is used by businesses in the early stages of launching a product. From there, you move on to brand trial. So now you're trying to encourage your target market to buy the product or service, to try it. And sometimes with brand trial, you might use a promotion activity. For instance, send out coupons or even free samples to get people to actually try the product or service. Next, you want to ramp up their preference, their loyalty, the brand loyalty. So this stage or purpose of advertising is called brand preference. You want your consumer, your target market, to choose or to prefer your brand over the competition. Then, after that, your task is often simply just to remind people, hey, our product is still out there, our label, our logo, our brand, it's still there. Don't forget about us, continue to buy us. And then sometimes you get to this point where sales are falling off and you have to come up with a new way to use your product, a new way for the target market to think about your product. A good example of this would be baking soda. Baking soda was used for baking for probably hundreds of years. And then they started to talk about different ways you can use baking soda, for instance, to soak up odors in your refrigerator. That caused people who maybe only bought 1 or 2 boxes of baking soda a year to buy more, 1 to bake with and 1 to keep in the fridge to eat up those odors. So those are your 5 purposes of advertising. When we look at the rest of this slideshow, we're going to talk mostly about print ads. And when I'm talking about print ads, we're going to focus on a single page in a magazine or a poster campaign. So if we take a look at a poster or a single page, we've got this thing called the rule of thirds. And what that means is we can break up any single page by its vertical thirds and its horizontal thirds. So then you end up with these 9 quadrants on that page. So what does that all mean? We break the page up vertically and horizontally, and then we take a look at those intersection points. Those 4 intersection points are usually where you will find the main things from that ad that are designed to capture the target market's attention and interest and to engage them. So those are the points where you're going to see usually the most eye-catching items of an ad. Does that make sense? Most effective ads will use this rule. Not all ads will use this rule, and maybe that's what makes them less effective. We're going to look at some ads throughout the rest of this slideshow. We can break down an ad, and we're going to look at different elements of an ad. But when you create a good ad, it's got to do basically 4 things, and we call this AIDA, A-I-D-A. So the first thing an ad has to do, and it almost follows through these 4 stages, the very first thing you have to do is attract attention. How do you attract attention? Usually with a headline, maybe a unique visual. Sometimes you put in a famous person, or sometimes you use something funny. You use comedy. After you attract attention, you need to gain the interest of the target market. So here you want to keep the message simple, to the point. And often what you're going to see is persuasive words, or what I like to call involvement techniques. Those involvement techniques, you'll often see the words you or we. And probably one of the best involvement techniques is to ask the viewer, the target market, a question. Because when you ask that question, whether they know it or not, they subconsciously start thinking of an answer to that question. It's one of the best involvement techniques. After attention and interest, you need to build desire. You want to connect the message to the person, make them want the product. So maybe you outline a problem and tell them how your product is the solution to that problem. And then finally, the big thing, doesn't all work out unless you get them to take action. So you ask them for the sale, or you summarize the reasons to buy. You ensure that they know how and where to buy. So you might have the brand name there, and this is where you're going to see the logo. You want to make sure that people remember that logo, remember that brand name. And you might have the contact information. Sometimes it's a website, sometimes it's a phone number, maybe it's an address of a local place where you can go and buy that product. So when we look at advertising, we can talk about a number of different ways we can evaluate advertising. Reach is a measure of the number of people exposed to a message. Frequency, the number of times an audience will see or hear an ad over a specific period of time. Durability, how long the ad lasts. Selectivity, and what we mean by that is, can we focus on a specific target market? When you look at radio, for instance, you guys probably don't listen to the same radio stations that I do. So because of that, an ad that would be designed to capture your target market might not go onto the same radio station or the same website as would be attracted to me, or I would be attracted to, I should say. So selectivity for that target market. Mechanical requirements. We can look at, what's involved. It's pretty easy to design a quick newspaper ad or magazine ad, but it takes a lot more work, a lot more mechanical requirements to create a television ad, for instance, or even a radio ad in many cases. Lead time, how fast between when you have the ad ready to when the ad can run. Newspapers have a shorter lead time. I can call a newspaper today, get the ad in today. I can get an ad up on a website by the end of today if I want to. But if it's a magazine, it might take a little bit longer because the magazine is only published once a month or once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on the schedule. Clutter, how much competition is there for the attention of the audience? So sometimes on a single page of a newspaper, you'll see 5 ads, and that increases the amount of clutter and decreases how much effectiveness your ad might have when you compare it to it being the only ad on that single page. Cost, obviously, is a big factor. And with cost, it's usually measured in what we call CPM, cost per thousand. And why is it not CPT? Well, because M is the Roman numeral per thousand, and that's just what the advertising agency has always used. So when we look at this table here, this comparison, you can see along the top here, and I'm just going to fire up a pointer, the laser pointer. So you can see here along the top, there are the different forms of mass media: TV, radio, magazines, newspapers, out of home, which would include billboards, bus ads, those kinds of things, direct to home, you guys probably call it junk mail, internet ads, and then specialty advertising. We'll leave that one sort of out of the mix for most of this conversation. Here are the factors that we just talked about. Okay, there's your factors. Notice that the best for reach is often out of home and direct to home. Notice that the best for frequency is the internet. Selectivity, magazines, the internet. Direct to home is very, very high, and so is radio. Durability, the most durable form is a magazine and also the internet. Lead time, internet, as I said, I could probably get an ad up on the internet today. Radio is very quick as well. The worst for lead time is magazines, as I said. Mechanical, you're going to look at specialty forms, and also in some cases, radio is high as well. But notice the low ones, out of home, that would be things like billboards. It's usually a 1-month booking for a billboard. Same thing with television. It's very difficult to get those types of ads up quickly. Clutter, specialty, and again, out of home. Think about all the billboards that you see on a single day. And cost, the internet is the highest here, and TV is very low at 3. So what I want to do moving forward, and here's a summary of that. I'm going to quickly go through that. What I want to do moving forward is I want to look at some examples of ads, because that's what your assignment's going to be. Here's a single page ad that would have appeared in a magazine a few years ago. Notice some of the elements that are on this ad. We've got our brand name up there at the top left with the logo. You have a slogan as well. The slogan, very hard to read, but it says, "Make your own story." You've got a visual, which you normally want to have on a magazine ad. And that's pretty much it you have here. So if you think about attention, interest, desire, and action, think about this ad for a second. What captures your attention? First of all, to me, it's probably the yellow color. The interest might be the entire visual aspect of it, right? So you've got this graffiti on this Lego wall saying "Vader sucks." You've got the stormtroopers here laughing. This guy falling down, he's laughing so hard, and they don't know that Vader's crept up on him. So it's a very entertaining ad. I think where you're missing the points of AIDA, it does really well on attention and interest, but does it build desire? Does it make you want Lego? And does it tell you where you can buy Lego? It doesn't. It's not effective on those two aspects. But again, I think most people know where you can buy Lego, or it's pretty obvious to them where they could go to buy Lego. So maybe they don't need to build so much desire and action at the end of this ad for that. Moving on to another one. Headline and copy right there as well. Here's a typical Old Spice ad. Again, not much to it. Okay, attention. Probably the fact that the guy's looking right at us. You have your headline, your tagline, your visual. Oh, let's go back. Sorry. But again, does this ad do well as far as desire and action? I would say, in my opinion, it doesn't do a great job of desire and action. But again, is Old Spice a well-known brand that people would be able to track down quite easily? So maybe the action element is not that important to them. And in this particular case, attention, desire, done well. But again, desire, action, maybe not. Here's a typical single page ad. This one for a beauty product, in this case, more of a sun care product. So again, if you take a look at this, what captures your attention? Is it the girl, or is it the product, or is it the sort of 2-column aspect of this ad. I don't think it does a great job of attracting your attention. Interest, potentially, with protect your skin, protect your beauty. So maybe the fact that it's trying to sell a sun care product, but it's also saying that that sun care product will also protect your beauty. It's making that connection. That also may be the factor that builds interest. So again, probably this section here designed to capture your attention. And again, notice if I split the page into those thirds, this is approximately where it would be. And notice that the woman's face would be right around that intersection point with her looking at us. Definitely, that's part of the action process. Here, you've got some points about the particular product. And again, it might be hard to read in this reproduction, but it's there and it does tell us why we might want to buy this product. As far as action, there is information down here about how to acquire this product. And as well, notice that at this point, you've got the logo in this section of the ad. And think about this being in a magazine. What is the last place you look at on this page before you turn the page in a magazine? Well, the last place you look, because our eyes start here when we read and we go across and we read down. So when we're looking at a magazine, probably the last thing we're going to see before we turn that page is this logo. And when this page is gone, that logo is designed there. It's put there, I should say, because it's designed for us to remember it when we turn the page. So again, some of the elements, if we look at there's the headline, the visual, the slogan, and the brand name and logo. And what we call this is copy. The other two ads didn't have any copy. This is called advertising copy. Hey, this is one of my favorite ones. So first, pause, take a look at it. All you see is the car at first. And again, notice where the car is. Again, it's in that section where the thirds are. Notice that the car is driving toward us. That's an important factor. Most car ads will position the car so it's driving left to right because that's the way our eyes want to read the page. And they're also going to have the car coming toward us, not driving away from us, because they want us to feel that that car is coming to us. So attention right away, it's this, the car. No doubt about that. Interest. It asks us a question right there. Did you notice the man on the high wire? So if you were like me, when you read that, you're going to go back up here and you're going to say, oh, there he is. There's the guy on the high wire. So they've now involved you with this ad. That's a unique trick. It's an involvement trick. They ask you that question. They put that high wire walker, that tightrope walker, almost so you can't see him until you take a second look at that ad. So the all-new Passat, once you've seen it, you'll see nothing else. And that's what they're trying to get across to you, is that they have this amazing tightrope walker up here in the middle of this city street, but you didn't even notice him because this car is so fantastic that that's all you noticed. So there's your attention. Interest makes you interested in learning a little bit more. Here, the advertising copy. Desire, notice it gives you a price, tells you a lot about the engine, the power-assisted front disc brakes, rear solid disc brakes, anti-lock braking system, etc., etc., etc. Logo, again, right down here. And, touting the fact that it was voted best new family car in 2009. So again, to me, this is a very effective ad in capturing your interest and maybe building a little bit of desire as well. Here's those elements that we looked at from the previous ads: the visual, the headline, tagline, the copy, and the brand name and the logo. And again, the logo, the last thing we see before we turn the page. Another car ad, this time a truck ad. I like this ad because they've used a really unique trick. I'll give you a moment to take a look at it. So first of all, similar to the previous ad, you've got the vehicle and it's coming towards the viewer. It's going from left to right. What you notice about this vehicle probably is that it's towing a bunch of logs. It's also driving through a forest and a rough terrain. So it tells us something about the truck right away. So that's definitely attention, not action. That's definitely attention. And again, notice where it is. If we look at the thirds, it's in that intersection point, those two intersection points. 5 tons. Where do you want it? Okay, a question again. Where do you want it? And that is the involvement technique. I want you to read the paragraphs. So take a moment and look over those paragraphs. I want you to notice something about these paragraphs. I want you to notice that they never, through the paragraphs, refer to the truck as anything other than, well, there is one time, I guess, that they do call it the Silverado, but they keep on calling it the truck. So the truck can move mountains. The truck, right there. You'll see it again. Where is it again? The truck right here, and the truck right there, and the truck. And here it says the new Silverado isn't just any truck, it's the truck. Notice that they've capitalized the word truck in each case. Notice not only did they capitalize the word truck, but notice here it says the truck, and the is capitalized, even though it's not in the beginning of the sentence. Same thing here. I'm telling you what they're trying to subconsciously make you compare this truck to, because it says here, the truck can move mountains. Only God can move mountains. So what they're actually doing in this ad is they're comparing this truck to God. And I know that that sounds kind of crazy, but that's the trick that they're trying to do here. They're trying to tell you that this truck is godlike. Do they want you to think of that consciously when you read this ad? No, but they're trying to tell you that this truck is the God of trucks. That's exactly the message they're trying to get across subconsciously. Again, I think this is an effective ad in the way it's been built. Here are your items. And again, it does a really good job of action that the other ads didn't do. You've got a 1-877 number, a toll-free number that you can call to find out more, or a website to visit to find out more. A very effective ad using the AIDA formula. Okay, so hopefully you understand what I was trying to do there. This is your assignment for this week. It's going to be due next Tuesday. We'll make it due next Tuesday because I'm not rolling this out until Wednesday. I need you to find 5 single-page print ads that would appear in a magazine. It could also be a poster, if you wish, a poster instead. You can find online versions of these magazines. You're going to copy these images onto a Google Doc. It can be a poster instead of a magazine ad as well. But 5 different print ads, 5 different products, please. So not 5 ads for the same product. You're going to identify the following parts of the ad, similar to what we use the arrows for: the headline, the visual, the copy, the slogan or tagline, and the brand name and brand marks or logo. Then you're going to clearly describe how the 4 elements of AIDA are or are not present in each ad. So we saw a couple of ads that did well on action and interest, but didn't do well on desire and action. So you can tell me about that in words and sentences. And if they do well on all 4, like the last 2 did, then tell me exactly what on those ads are designed to capture your attention, to pique your interest, to create desire, and to show you how to take action. For each ad as well, give me a summary. Is it an effective ad? And which of the 4 elements does it do the best on? And also tell me who you think the target market is for each of those ads. Any questions? Please email me. And that's it. I hope you didn't get sick of hearing my voice. By the way, while I was doing this, a news item just came over on my iPad. I had my iPad over beside me, and it said the police have just arrested the world tongue twister champion. They've been looking for him for ages. They promise he'll get a very tough sentence.